meeting this guy would have been quite alarming for her since she's on her own and has no clue how he will react to the cubs. So he may very well turn around and kill these cubs. Which puts this lioness in a terrifying position. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again on another virtual safari. Today we are heading out into the Masai Mara to see if we can find the Olololo pride. Now, for those of you who don't know, that is the lioness with the two subadult cubs that are around maybe 14, 15 months old, and we're going to see what they get up to today. With the rains coming and going, small parts of the Mara have turned into lush paradise, where many animals have been congregating, and there is so much water around, animals often aren't by the river anymore. Take these hippos, for example. They found this, albeit small water source, and have now taken up refuge in the middle of the grasslands. The river isn't far, but they probably discovered this puddle on their way back to the main river after a night of grazing. And it's fairly likely that these are young bulls that have been banished from the pod by the dominant bulls because they're getting to an age where they will become a threat and start looking to take over the pod. So they've taken up residence together, even if it is a little small for all of them. It's so small, in fact, that it looks like there is weeks worth of mud and scum that has been stirred up and is now floating on the surface. With all the bubbles when the hippos walk through it, it reminds me a bit of a witch's cauldron. However, not a cauldron, but in fact a concoction of a different sort. Not the best smelling sediments, but it will help to protect these hippos from the sun, especially with their skin exposed. And it could mean some extra fertilizer keeping the grasses green and sweet around the edge of the channel, which is great for us in terms of looking for different animals that may congregate to eat those grasses. So hopefully these hippos will find a new home in the coming weeks. That could be tricky though, because there is a fairly large population of hippos all along the Mara River. I mean, there's a pretty good chance they won't all be here tomorrow anyway. I also say that because there have been a few powerful yawns and some individuals forcing the others to shift and shuffle while we've been sitting here, trying to claim the puddle for themselves. But none of them feeling feisty enough to really get stuck in and show the others why they should move, which also shows their inexperience. It does mean they could be doing this all day, until at least one of them gets fed up. But we have more places to explore, so we're going to leave them. These giraffes have been staring at something for a little while, and there's a park ranger's vehicle here, so let's see what they've spotted. It's the Olololo pride. I should have guessed with the way these giraffes are behaving that it would have been something like lions. It's not common to see them grouped up like this and staring unless there's something they're not sure about, or if there's a predator they want to keep an eye on. These lions, however, seem fairly comfortable and don't look to be in a mood for taking on their rather tall audience members. But they won't be ecstatic that they've been picked out either, because these giraffes will continue to circle, and by constantly watching these lions, they're letting anything else in the area know that there's something to look out for. Right now, though, the giraffes seem to be the only ones on edge. Rightfully so. They're trying to work out if there are maybe other lions hidden somewhere waiting to jump out. And with the ground being uneven here due to all the erosion, it would be difficult for them to get away quickly should they need to. It would only take one of them tripping and falling to turn this quiet scene into utter chaos. And one of those giraffe would feed the pride for a minimum of a week. So they may look quiet and content, but there's a lot more going on in this standoff than what meets the eye. But the giraffes are backing down, and the lions look content enough with that outcome to take a nap. So we'll leave them to snooze. One thing that those lions do not want to be spotted by is any of the neighboring prides. And with new males coming in, current males seeming to have disappeared, these lions have a lot to worry about, including another pride that happens to be very close to where they are now. Let's go and see just how close. As the crow flies, there's maybe only a couple of kilometers between this sighting and the Olololo pride. And that, to a lion, easy peasy. They can cover that distance in a couple of hours, let alone a day. But luckily for the Olololo pride, it looks like this lioness has her paws full already. We haven't come across her before, but she is a part of the border pride. These cubs are not more than around 3 months old, so they will be meeting the rest of the pride soon, but maybe sooner than this lioness had anticipated, because there is a male lion only a few meters away, and she is not happy about it. She snarls whenever he twitches an ear or makes some sort of a move, gets up, which is a clear signal that she does not want him near her or her cubs. And the cubs are very uneasy when she does this. What I suspect has happened here is this lioness was moving her cubs, maybe to a new den, or even taking them to meet the rest of the pride. And first prize would have been to introduce them to the lionesses first, and maybe the rest of the youngsters, if there are youngsters, and get them integrated before introducing them to the males. Because then, if something were to go wrong, she's got backup from the other lionesses who would jump in to protect her and her new cubs. So, meeting this guy would have been quite alarming for her, since she's on her own and has no clue how he will react to the cubs. Now, he is also a part of the same pride, but that means very little if he is not the father of those cubs. He is not related by blood to the other males who dominate this pride. So he may very well turn around and kill these cubs just so that he has the option to rather continue his own genetic line. An opportunity he will only get if the other males, who would easily overpower him because they are much bigger, are not around. Which puts this lioness in a terrifying position. Even though it would be one-on-one, he is much bigger and stronger than her, and there's no place for the cubs to hide if things get really ugly. So she does have to weigh up her options here. I wonder what her next move will be. She might try and chase this male off. I just hope the cubs stay out the way. There is also another problem that she's facing, and that is the heat. It's already getting to her, and those cubs are struggling. They're moving between the grass stems and even trying to use her shadow for just a tiny bit of shade. If she doesn't get them out of the sun soon, their little bodies just won't be able to take much more. She has to make a choice. Either risk being followed by the male, or risk her cubs overheating. He's watching, but he's also moved off quite a distance after that little altercation. I assume trying to show her that he's not something she needs to worry about. She hasn't gone very far, but she proved her point and made it very clear to that male, so I think she feels a lot more comfortable letting the cubs rest in the nearby shade. They need to cool off before she can move much further, so we are going to leave them to do just that. Thank goodness they are safe for another day.